I'm here with Sarah Beyreis, our Director of College Counseling and Director of External Opportunities. Sarah, I'm actually in your space today. I'm borrowing your office, so thank you for that. And thanks for joining in a discussion today.
Yep, pleasure to be here.
Yeah, very good. I wanted to learn a little bit about external opportunities. This is a program that we began at Country Day of just a few years ago, but really has grown beautifully in these last few years. What was the idea at the beginning for external opportunities? Where did this idea come from, and how did you begin this program?
It became really through advising students who are coming up through high school. And when you're talking about college, then the question of major or possible career path comes up. And um, it just was crystal clear to me that kids could use a little glimpse of various careers so that their sense of what they might be interested in develops. And so we started trying to connect students with parents or alumni or friends of the school in various fields, just for brief experiences with them, one day job shadows or something like that. And it has grown. And kids have an appetite for it. They've enjoyed it. So um, one of the things that's been really interesting to see is that kids enjoy most having lunch with these people. The stories about, yeah, I didn't know what I was going to do in college either. And the ways that people come to their um, job is very interesting to kids. So,
Have you, in these early years, can you think of a time that a lunch or one of these opportunities led one of our Country Day students to rethink their college choice and their college application process?
um, actually, I don't know if I can think of that specifically, but I do know that these experiences, especially in some of the STEM fields, have helped kids in ways they never anticipated to get internships earlier in college and then maybe even job offers. So that's happened several times for kids, especially in specialized engineering fields or in um, computer science. So that's been very helpful.
What is the span of the types of job shadowing or conversations? So you mentioned STEM, for example. Have there been other areas that you have helped students have conversations and learn a little bit more about?
Absolutely. Lots of different forms of medicine. You know, doctors, this is part of the way they get trained. So they're very comfortable with it. Sure, somebody can come shadow me. It's great. um, Lots of interest in law. We send kids to courts and uh, public attorneys' offices and a little bit corporate law, but that's a little harder because there has to be some client confidentiality there, and finance and architecture, interior design, um, conservation, field biology, all these kinds of things we've had kids interested in.
Fantastic. Some people watching our discussion today in the Country Day community might be interested in helping some of our students. What would you say to them? What is the requirement? Is it a lot of time? How can somebody best help a Country Day student with one of these opportunities?
Oh, write me. We also have a survey form on our website under, I believe it's under student internship under programs. Perhaps you can include a link um, with this email. But yeah, we would love to have, we always want more volunteers to suggest to students. Sometimes students don't know what they're looking for. And then when they read what someone does, they think, oh, that would be really cool. I'd love to learn about that. So
And
we're
what
very,
is the requirement of somebody? Does
oh,
it take a lot of time?
no, it doesn't take a lot of time at all. To have students at your place of work, it's a day. It'll probably kill parts of a day. But one of the things we ask you to do is connect them with other people at your place of work so they can learn about the field in general and people at various stages of their careers. But as I said, lunch is often the best part. People gather with their colleagues and they find themselves telling stories that are they didn't know. Somebody else tells a great story. Everybody has fun at these lunches, so that's a
Yeah,
great
very
time.
good. How has the program developed over the years? Because it sounds like you identified a need and maybe began kind of a one-off opportunity here and there, but now it's more of a formal program. How has this program become more formalized and evolved through the last few years?
Well, one of the most exciting things this year was that we had 3 week-long CCDX courses that grew out of very popular offerings in the past. So a large number of students were able to get this in-depth look at fields. So we had Rick Rust, a past parent, has offered a job shadows in chemical engineering, and it turned into a class this year. So it was like double the number of kids who could participate in that. And he takes them to Cincinnati companies where they can see chemical engineering at work, and then he gives them a problem to solve, and then they came up with their own product and had to pitch it to him. It was really great week. And we had one in sports medicine, which was pretty rich in all kinds of experiences with many different stages of sports medicine, from the physical therapist to the orthopedic surgeon, everything in between. And we also had one in finance, which was great. We talked with a number of professionals in different branches of finance, and it was the week that the stock market was tanking, so it was particularly stimulating week.
Well, that's fantastic. So do you see, as you continue to grow the program, that these CCDX experiences and classes rather will be able to provide more of these types of opportunities?
Yeah, I would hope so. I think we've had many that are related to careers. So, of course, you ran a debate course, and in the middle school, they did a forensic science course about evaluated crime scene. And so I think they'll just continue to grow because kids are interested in them. Yeah, I think.
So we're in a rather unusual time when you and I are having this discussion where we're all sheltering at home. And so, as you said, job shadowing and going and being in a person's place of work is the best thing to do, to have that lunch with them. Pretty hard to do that, obviously, at the moment. What have you done to shift so that you can provide kids some of these opportunities and begin to build some of these relationships in the current setting?
We've been offering job shadow chats, we call them, in this format on Teams, um, and we've had 4, and we're planning at least 3 more. And I'm working to build the roster. So, and they happen either right after school at about 2:45, or we have one that's going to be at lunchtime in a couple of weeks. We've had um, uh, the assistant U.S. attorney and assistant U.S. attorney in the Southern District of Ohio, Kevin Kohler. He's a former Country Day teacher. He gave a great one about law, the many ways you could practice it, and what he loves about his job. I think 20 students attended that one a week or two ago. We had Ken Ratterman, a Country Day parent, talk about research and development at Procter and Gamble, and Dr. Melissa Del Bello, another Country Day parent, who is co-head of the Mood Disorders Center at the University of Cincinnati. She talked about psychiatry and behavioral neuroscience. So it's been very interesting. And we've recorded them when possible. And I'm going to be sending out another email, I believe on Monday, with further chats. Like we're going to have one in architecture, one in just sort of business. What does it mean to work in business? Kids always say, I want to work in business, but I think so. George Redeveld, who is a parent and trustee and has a lot of experience starting businesses and working with new businesses, is going to talk about all kinds of things, what it takes to succeed in that, why you might like to do it. I think it'll be great. And then Charlie Kircher, who works in emergency medicine and neuroscience, is going to talk about that. So I think we're just going to keep, at least you get 45 minutes with somebody and their email address and a chance to talk to them later more. So we're going to keep trying to offer things in fields kids are interested in.
Fantastic. In hearing you describe some of these individuals, it sounds like the Country Day community itself is a very rich group to be able to provide these opportunities, that we don't have to go hill and dale to find people to be able to speak to our students about options and opportunities, but that you're finding a lot of people right close by to our community to be able to offer these conversations.
Yeah, very much so. And we've also found that when we reach out, people are quick to say yes, and then they are delighted with the experience and always say, "Oh yeah, I'll take another one." So they might initially have some trepidation. What will a high school student be like? And then they spend a day with one of our wonderful kids, and they're like, "Sure, yeah, I'll do it next year. Yeah, it was great," which is
Wonderful.
wonderful.
So you're really building a pool with every successive year. The number of people that are able to give an opportunity, or willing to give an opportunity rather, is continuing to grow. Are you finding that to be the case?
Yeah, I have found that to be the case. So
Yeah,
that's
good.
great.
Sarah, shifting gears just a little bit, you are also our college counselor. You are beginning your work. We're sending our class of 2020 off with the best way that we can, but we know where most of those kids are going. As you now are thinking about our 11th graders, our 10th graders, our ninth graders, how are you thinking about giving them and their families guidance in this really uncertain time through the college application process?
Yeah, we're actually very much in the middle of it. We do a lot of work with juniors before spring break, and now we're working with sophomores and soon freshmen, um, and returning to juniors. So what we're saying is colleges are eager to have them apply and to enroll them. That's been the overwhelming message from colleges. So things that might have seemed like concerns, pass fail classes, lack of access to testing, a different format for AP exams. Colleges just keep saying, it's going to be fine. We're all living with it. We still want you to apply. So, um, and we have actually found it relatively easy, I'm going to say relatively, to continue to provide our services in this format because sometimes it's even easier. You can get a parent to step away from their work for a 45-minute conference with their child through a video chat. It's easier than getting them to come to school during the day. So um, we've continued right along with all of our family meetings with sophomores and returning to juniors when we've needed to. I think we're going to be able to have virtual college visits in the fall if we need to. And some colleges are already talking about that as if they imagine that their travel schedules may be curtailed next fall. So, and we've offered a virtual practice ACT and we have a virtual practice SAT. So it's live, it's online, there's somebody proctoring it. But so we're feeling pretty good about doing our best to maintain our services through this online format.
In these conversations you're having with students and their families about the college application process, do you find yourself giving any advice that is different than you would have were we not all in this current situation? Or do you find that the advice that you're giving is similar to advice that you have been giving over the last few years, but just shifted in terms of the means of communication or other ways?
The one way that our advice has changed, there's a lot of please don't worry too much about it all, right? We're all living it. But I think that it's hard for students. We have a lot of very high achieving students who have lined things up. They had a really nice summer plan. They were going to run for student body president. They were going to things that have slipped away from them this spring and have been postponed to the fall or may simply not be possible. So one of our pieces of advice has been, I think colleges will simply be interested in what you do with the time you've got now.
Mm.
What do you do with a spot of emptiness and boredom? I think, and everybody is going to have a different answer to that, and
Sure.
that in itself will be interesting. So I think I'm not sure it's entirely bad. Time for to reflect, and boy, you might know why you want to go to residential college after a long spring of online learning.
Sarah, we've been reading in the media that this current uh, global pandemic and the longer that it might last and change our behaviors and the way that we're living our lives might have significant impact on universities and colleges. What are your thoughts about that? Will the college and university landscape look different 2 years from now or whenever this COVID-19 virus is hopefully behind us?
I think it will. I think that um, kids may be more aware of more options in terms of getting a college education. But, I had a friend ask me last week, do you think it's just going to go away, that families aren't going to invest in college in its traditional sense? And, we love residential college education. There's a great romance with it in the US. And so I don't think it's going to go away. It may change, but I don't think it's going to I think it'll still be there for those of us who love it dearly and want it for our children.
Yeah, very good. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for spending a little time in this conversation, and thank you for everything you're doing and your office, your team, your entire team, in supporting our students and their families as they navigate some choppy, potentially choppy, and potentially uncharted waters. But it sounds that you're helping them maybe make them a little less choppy and a little less uncertain.
Yeah. Thanks, Tony.
All right.
Bye-bye.